It's juice bag.
Maybe I'll go higher on this one.
It's juice bag.
So it's juice. Let's just do a few like juice bags.
Juice bag.
I think we should do hip hop hype beast.
Okay.
Juice bag.
Noise.
Okay.
Hey, you guys.
I didn't know where that was going.
Me either.
But I'm glad it ended where it did.
It was a good adventure.
I know. Welcome to Juice Bag, everybody.
Bag.
The best podcast on the planet. I just heard from Joe Rogan. He's given up the title to us. Congrats to us. So amazing.
So
Jett, how do
amazing.
you feel?
I feel astonished because I know that so far we have about 4 episodes up. And out of the, I think, 8 to 7 weeks we're supposed to have episodes out.
Yeah, man.
I'm just shocked that our audience really just saw those ratings through the skipping of the weeks.
I know. I really didn't see that coming, but
Me
it's been
either.
like millions of fan letters. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're just pouring in. So thanks for everyone who is out of ink out there writing so many letters, but no need to send fan
No
mail.
need. We already have a inflated self of ego, but
Yeah,
anyway,
Dakota's sitting here eating a meat stick.
I'm eating a meat stick, guys.
Oh.
I never eat meat sticks, but I'm chomping on a meat stick right
Yeah.
now. It's
during a
fabulous,
podcast.
yeah.
So we'll see. Ew. Okay.
a little ASMR.
Well, how are you doing?
I think we'll talk about it in the episode, but just to give you a heads up, I'm in a meat stick kind of mood, which
Yeah.
is like a 6 out of 10. I would say.
Headache. Yeah.
I have a headache. I think I'm sick. I have a lot to do. I don't really have time to be doing a podcast right now, but I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm happy.
Keeping it consistent.
I'm somewhat healthy, but yeah.
I
I'm
hope
having
you're
like
not
a 6
sick,
week.
man.
I know. I don't think I don't know if I am, but when I get anything, like even a bad night of sleep, I'm like a frail Victorian child, just like the tweet says. Like I
What tweet?
lead this stereotype of men. That tweet that came out that says like whenever I'm sick, I'm like a frail Victorian child asking mommy to take me out to the garden so I can get the golden sun to spread on my skin one more time before the disease takes me
Oh
or
my
whatever.
God.
But that's how I feel. I just like I miss the sun. It's cold in Philly. I didn't sleep well. My tummy hurts. I'm being really brave about it. And yeah, I just want to go to sleep. But
I understand.
I have too much to do, so I just keep drinking coffee and pushing forward. So
Old habits, man.
I
Old
know,
habits.
I know. How are you doing?
I would rate myself a. Oh, God. Ugh.
One of us has to be strong.
I know. I want to say 6, but probably a 7. I don't know.
Woohoo!
Because I'm like stressed, but I also have like not a lot of reason to be stressed. You know?
Well, let me
Except-
ask you a question. Hang on. Let me wash down this meat stick with some coffee real quick, and then I'll ask my question.
You spilled your coffee!
Yeah, but let's get back to my question, which is, why do you feel that way?
Oh, you're a mess.
I'm a mess.
Why do I feel that way? Well, I have a work trip coming up going all the way to, I don't know, any guesses out there? I'll let you take a moment to think how far away I could be going for a casual work trip.
If I had to take a shot in the dark, like completely unprepared for this, I would say Cape Town, South Africa.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Well, I'm going to Johannesburg and Cape Town, South Africa. So
Yeah, close enough.
yeah, they're kind of metropolitan areas down at the tip of the country, Africa.
Yeah, and you've been stressed about this for like 2 weeks now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the moment I was told it was a possibility, I've basically had this lump in my throat. I don't really know how to explain it. This is just who I am. Somehow, upon graduating college, the job that was available to me and that I was gunning for at the company that was where I was working had an event job, and then I have just never stopped working in events since then. And I don't know if it's just like a situational thing or if it's I already got started, so this is the industry I work in, but it never gets less stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember my first ever work trip. It's going to sound so bougie, but I had to get onto a private jet, and I hit my head walking into the plane. And it's just
such a first world problem.
Well, like,
Frickin' wah.
imagine I'm walking in with the founder of our global company. So I can't even like process how rich this dude is. And like his daughter was on the plane, who's also like a VP at the company. And like 4 other people and me were on this tiny private jet.
Yeah, the guy's name is on the side of the jet and the company.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. Super rich. Anyway. And so it's just like the perfect symbol of how much imposter syndrome I feel that I am a corporate girly, because my whole life I just never thought I would be a corporate girly. And now here I am working in events, and events in the corporate world mean travel most of the time, which I am so grateful for, but that doesn't change me, which is like, I'm scared. I don't know what to say besides like every single time it just feels like this plot to like a scary movie where anything could go wrong and you're all alone. And not only are you alone, like it would be scary to travel to South Africa alone anyway, like flying alone. Like I'm meeting coworkers out there, but like I'm responsible to enter another country, you know, by myself. And so it just feels like that would be scary anyway. But then this added layer that like you have responsibilities and you're being paid to be there, and people have expectations for you when you arrive, as far as like how you look and how you act and, you know, how you accomplish goals that they have assigned to you. Yeah. It's a lot. So long story short, I've probably known since the spring of this year that I was going to Africa, but it's gotten a lot more real in the last couple months.
And work's been picking up.
Yes. So it's been paired with, you know, in my industry, things, because the corporate event cycle picks up in the fall and spring, because I guess corporate families go on like summer vacations with their kids because they're done with school. So there isn't really a lot of corporate events happening during the summer. Yeah. And the same thing happens during winter, because like the Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year of it all, like there's no real events through that period. So the big pushes usually are the fall and spring, because that's when the weather's the best, and that's when corporate people are available to be doing and going to places. So anyway, it just has happened. My trip to this place, Africa, has also come with a lot of other workload, and I feel like I just can't even
and a lot of it is prep for the actual thing. Yeah, I mean, you're like actively taking classes and stuff that you need to like be able to help people figure out their software needs
not even
site.
Classes, just like verbal training from memory from the one person who's done it before. Yeah. And I was telling Dakota that it kind of feels like it's the exact feeling. So I've been training for 2 months and I work from home. So that means I have a, you know, Google Meet video meeting with my boss once a week to like go over stuff that will be happening. Yeah. And he basically just explains stuff to me and shows it to me once. And then it's like, I don't know if he said it or I feel it or it's a combo of both, but I just feel like as soon as we have one of those meetings, it's expected that not only do I hear it, I comprehend it, and I can action it with strategy. And I just don't have that yet. Yeah. And
that is such a pain in the ass. I had a boss like that too. My last manager, in fact, was always like, hey, do you want to explain why this is on this sheet? And I'm like, because I forgot about it and I put it there. Like, you know the answer. Why are you even asking me? Besides making me feel like a fool.
Yeah. I mean, I don't assume people try to make me feel like a fool, I guess. Usually you know me, I run to blaming myself. Like, I'm just like, I should have, or I could have studied harder, or if they expect me to memorize this, I guess I need to figure out how to do it. And I try to like own that, but that just puts a lot of pressure on me. And so I have a lot of prep and like understanding that's expected of me on this Africa trip, and pressure that I put on myself to like know everything that's going on. But that I haven't even been able to focus on that because my workload has been so heavy building apps and websites for other events that are coming up also in the fall. Yeah. So my work days, you know, I've been working like 10-hour days just trying to get all my deliverables done that are due that day for other events. And then after work, I've been studying what's going on with that Africa trip so I can be prepared for anything that comes my way.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot.
Yeah. I'm surprised your number isn't a little bit lower.
See, that's why I would say 6, but I just like...
I feel like you have a good juice bag right now, though. Like, I feel like you're kind of snapping out of, like, some of the more emotional
I was definitely...
pitfalls you were falling into last week, which is why we didn't put an episode out.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
But this week, I feel like I'm actually on top of stuff, but because I didn't sleep well the past 2 nights, I feel like I'm like, ugh, my dragon. We'll
have to prioritize that tonight because, last week, you may have noticed that we did not have an episode, and that's because I was having...
Why?
You think it was both of us?
I do. I think some priorities have shifted.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you've given your side of the thing, but I also want to say that I've completely re-engineered my study plan for my architecture test, which again, something I've been working toward for like 9 years now, consistently, basically every day for the past like 9 years.
Yeah.
It's coming to a point. I have 6 tests I got to get taken care of. You guys already heard I failed one. Wasn't necessarily because of my studying plan, but I came up with a new one. I'm paying a lot of money for this like service, and it's really good, and I feel like I'm actually learning the material, but the fact is that I have to get this done as soon as possible so that I don't keep being a financial burden.
Well, it's a monthly subscription. That's hundreds of dollars. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's like $250 a month. It's crazy, which is insane because that's the discount price. It was supposed to be like $415.
That's disgusting.
It is disgusting. And normally companies would cover this, but not mine. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, last week we were both stressed because I feel like I was way worse, or maybe I didn't emote as much as I should have been because I was not okay last week. I just last week I was in the thick of doing all of my daily tasks and working late and never having time to even think about Africa and knowing that trip is coming and not being able to like have time to get not only my work done, but think about this trip that I need to physically be at. So it's not even something that I could slack on because it's like, I will pay the price if I don't. And then like the house gets a little bit more dirty. And then the house has been getting a little dirty.
We hadn't even talked about another reason why is because our
boiler
trip
is broken. We have 2 reasons why.
Yeah, we have 2 reasons why
Let's get through these quick because I do want to talk more about like some solutions for this, but let's complain for like 5 more minutes.
Okay, so...
This is all within 2 weeks, folks.
Yes.
It's a lot.
So, well, this is like first world problems. But anyway, last weekend, we decided to be true Northeasterners. We were going to check out Vermont for leaf peeping, which was a vibe. But it kind of ate up our last weekend, our Saturday and Sunday.
Ate up the remainder of our travel account.
Yeah.
And like we were doing it basically so we didn't freaking KMS because we were having such a stressful time at work.
Yeah. Yeah. We were like, let's take a little weekend, little bop. We'll drive up to Vermont. We'll see leaves. We'll drink coffee. We'll take walks. We'll take Vito. So it will just be
we got like a special sweater for it and everything. How was it?
Honestly, it might be one of my least favorite trips I've ever been on.
Wow.
Is that
I don't
not
know
terrible?
about least favorite, but it definitely was not at the top.
I think it's because all of the work stuff was already, pushing on my juice bag.
Yeah.
Infiltrating
you were
my
not
bag.
in a good mood.
No, already. Yeah. And then...
bringing Vito was stressful.
Yes. Well, he was a good boy, though. It wasn't him. I mean, it's us worrying about him. Because that's who we are. But then the added layer of like, it wasn't a road trip like we've experienced before because the majority of it was city driving and not country roads. Which,
like in the West, you get to go through the hills. Like you get to see all the pretty sights, see a waterfall or two. It's like we literally had to drive through New York at 3:00.
Yeah.
To get to freaking New Haven so that we could get a slice of disappointing ass pizza.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
And it was raining the whole time.
And I'm not even kidding. We literally almost died in a car accident. Like, we
didn't even leave Philly yet, and we almost got sideswiped by a blacked out SUV who was doing like 60 in like 45
it changed lanes into us without a blinker right next to us, and Dakota had to swerve out of the way, but there was a car next to us.
Yeah.
So Dakota had to simultaneously somehow swerve and brake to the point where we didn't get sandwiched between two cars on the highway. And somehow within inches, it must have been, we slowed down just enough to where that car did end up coming into our lane and speeding off.
Yeah.
But thank God we weren't hit, because I don't know what would have happened. Like,
Yeah.
it was so scary.
Might have been a better weekend, honestly.
I don't know about that.
But anyway, it was a disappointing weekend.
Yeah.
Vermont, like, if you're from our area, which is like Philly area, I think they call it like the Mid-Atlantic or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but like, you don't need to go that far to see leaves and
No,
stuff.
it's beautiful in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
like, I don't get the
Pennsylvania,
hype.
New York, Connecticut, like all those places. It's the same shit.
Yeah.
Same shit, dude.
Yeah.
You can get maple syrup if you go up
At
a little
the
bit
store.
further, but it's not. Yeah, get it at the store.
So that's whiny weenie land. And the
That's
added...
one of them. The other one was that our boiler's broken and
Yeah.
our house has been freezing for the past week and a half.
Well, is that true? We haven't even
You really
tried
gonna
the boiler.
die on this hill again?
Well, we haven't turned on the...
Technically, it is not broken.
Okay.
But it is 42 years old.
Yes.
And it barely works.
Well-
and every time I turn it on, it sounds like it's gonna
Yes.
fucking explode.
That
So-
I will credit you on. Dakota's good at getting anxious about weird sounds and trusting his intuition. I just ignore that stuff until when or if it does blow up.
Yeah.
So that's where we're...
Well, also, literally
differences are.
last year, somebody told me that thing's in horrible condition. I can see flames coming out from underneath it.
What?
Yes.
You didn't tell me that.
I told you that. It was burping gas. Like, it
You
has the
didn't
pilot
tell me
thing
that.
underneath it. But yeah, he's like, oh, I could see flames underneath it. That's a telltale sign it's rotted out. It's like not good to go.
You didn't tell me that.
I told you it was broken. You're like, is it technically broken? I'm like, no, not technically, but
Okay.
it's about to explode.
Okay, because sometimes your car will have a squeak on the wheel because it's wet, and you're like, "Is my wheel gonna fall off?" So sometimes,
Honey,
I try.
I'm more right than not. The
About-
other thing
Yes.
that I was right about was your Honda, which
Yeah.
also recently took a crap. So we're also down a car.
Yeah.
Because the check engine light came on, and I was like, oh, I bet it's the engine. I bet it's a cylinder based on like this
Yeah.
weird sound. What was it, Jett? What was it?
I think the code told you that it's a cylinder.
It was a cylinder.
Yeah.
It was a cylinder valve.
So
told you.
anyway, long
Sorry.
story
Get off my high
short.
horse. The meat stick's working though.
Oh, good. Yeah, I can
better.
tell you have energy. You
I don't know what you're
buffoon.
talking about. Quit putting words in my mouth, okay?
Anyway, so we have a lot going on. Not to mention, are you ready to have your jaws drop for how much the radiator costs that we are paying for?
Boiler.
Oh, well, the boiler for the radiators to work.
Well, I mean, that's a radiator, and yeah, that's
Right.
like $200, but
Right.
tell them what it is.
$6,500.
Holy cow! We got 3 quotes. That was the cheapest one.
Yeah.
The other 2 were $7,000 and $7,500. Back in my day, that's how much a car costs. I don't
A
understand.
good car.
I know.
Like a really good car.
I know. I
Yeah.
bought my first car under like 150,000 miles for like $2,000.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell people are thinking.
Yeah.
But $6,500.
Yep. And then, yeah, like my car took a crap and we haven't even dealt with that yet because
Yeah.
I work from home. So it's not like I have to address, but like
Mm-hmm.
we're down a car. Our house is not heated at this moment, which thankfully it's like a mild fall. It's only like 60 some
Cats
degrees.
are cuddling.
Yeah.
Dogs being chill.
I have a space
Dakota and
heater
Jett
in
are
my
wearing-
office.
Yeah. I'm literally wearing a
Hoodie.
beanie right now and a
Yeah,
hoodie and
I have
stuff. so-
Uggs on in the house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's kind of cozy. It's kind of
Yeah.
fun vibes, but we do need to get it addressed soon. And we
Yeah.
are this Thursday. We're going to get it fixed, but
Yeah.
it just sucks. So
Yeah.
how do we feel? How do we feel going through these stressful times? This is not our first rodeo.
Yeah.
We've gone through
That is
way,
so true.
way heavier times. I actually feel like we're handling this period of our lives very well,
Mm-hmm.
even though we obviously have, what is it now? Freaking 19 minutes of bitching about it.
Yeah.
How do we overcome obstacles and hard times?
Well, I think the first stage is admitting it.
Yeah.
Like I had noticed early last week when my work week started and I was like, oh crap. Like I did not realize how much I had to do and everything that was stressing me out. And, you know, I was like, I think I was crying, if not about to cry when I was talking to you about it.
You told me multiple times, you're like, I feel like I need to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely
By
about.
the way, thank you for doing that for both of us because I also probably needed to cry.
Yeah.
But since you were crying, I didn't have to.
Yeah.
Nice.
So anyway, I feel like the difference in the Jett I am now versus a younger version of myself or a less emotionally sound person is I had admitted before we had, because Dakota and I are pretty regimented now. Like we have Monday movie nights, we have Tuesday podcast nights, we have Wednesday walk nights, we have Thursday solo nights, Friday fun nights, Saturday fun days, Sunday reset days. Like that is our week. That is the Bible. That is what we live by. And I was feeling very flustered because I was working late and I knew I had other work to work on. And it came up that I needed to not go out to a movie that night. I was like, it's just, I'm too stressed. Being away from the house feels like too much. And then you asked, like, how could I support you? And I feel like instead of just like staying silent about my needs or just like letting the overwhelm push me into silence about speaking out about what I actually would need, is I finally, said something for myself in a time of need where I was like, I need to wipe the slate clean of our responsibilities for this whole week on the weeknights. And, I'm usually the one to prepare dinner right when I'm off of work for us to eat so we can get on with our lives. And I was like, if you could take over that if I'm working late, then at least we'll still be on track with when we're eating dinner at the, same time each night. And you were super receptive to it. And
well, I have 11 weeks of studying to do, so I was looking for any excuse to not do anything except work. But I was receptive.
Like, I feel like you did a very good job about, like, what do you need? And I feel like I did a good job of saying exactly what I needed. And then we had the freedom to evolve throughout the week the way that helped serve us best in that stressful time.
And maybe there's a point to say that, like, maybe this time was a little easier because it was mutually beneficial, because we both had stuff that we needed to do that we were putting off. But at the same time, I feel like you brought up 3 good points, which is one is acknowledging it and becoming sympathetic for yourself to allow yourself to be like, man, this sucks. Like, I don't want to be in this position, but I also need to express these emotions so that I'm not going to feel like I'm on the verge of tears for the entire time. Like, you cried, you got it out, gave yourself a pat on the back. And then 2, you came up with a strategy to do it, which is that you had to clean up the slate of what you had to do that week and you had to reprioritize. And I feel like that was something we never did back in the day, was that we never regimented anything. And so it's like when the times get hard, it's like, well, okay, I know I have to get up and I have to work out, or else I'm not going to have energy to like finish what I need to do throughout the day. And I'm not going to be in a good mood, which is why I'm in a bad mood today, because I didn't work out this morning. I did Peloton yesterday. Felt great. Slept until 7 today. Feel like shit. Horrible.
You need to be up and at 'em.
I know. And then the third thing was that you need a partner who can kind of help balance the load a little bit. Which is just like relationship material number 1. Is that you need to be supportive of your partner in sickness and in health, right? That's what we all agree to. And so when Jett's being a weak worm, Dakota's got to be a strong worm, and vice versa. And I feel like we've always done a good job at balancing ourselves out with that. So, but it was nice because we got to come up with a strategy after you had your cry and you had your vulnerable moment of telling me what you needed to do. And I said, well, actually, I can benefit from this too, and I would love to help. And then what did we do?
We found a late night coffee shop somehow. It's only 15 minutes away. And we ended up going there 2 separate times for like 4 hours each, if not more, just to get computer work done. And like, I studied my trip and like tried to memorize the agenda and work on a bunch of like just Africa related stuff. And you were able to study a bunch for architecture. And it helped us both so much.
And in fact, because we were able to do that, we now have a fun place that we know that we can go to if we need to lock down. And I feel like those were such good memories to like be sitting across from you and smiling at each other, because we both knew that we were doing what we had to do. There was no guilt. And it was just like we were acknowledging what we had to do, and we were actually doing it and coming through for ourselves. And it was such a good feeling. It was such a good feeling.
I guess I hadn't really thought of it that way when it was happening. It must have been how in the thick of it I was in my stress or whatever. But it definitely helped. Like, I feel like I cashed in a lot of good hours. I feel like I was able to rewatch a bunch of training videos and like actually take notes where I was trying to think through strategy and actually feel like I was more ready for Africa.
And it's always like, if you're ever, I know folks have a lot of like physical things that they have to be doing, like cleaning or something like that. But like when it comes to something like this, which both of our tasks were kind of like, I don't want to say like intellectual, but just like kind of focused computer work or something like that could be done kind of only by yourself, but also like at a computer. It's always so good to have a study partner and somebody that you can tap in on. I know I gain a lot from that, because when I'm like at a coffee shop and I'm by myself, or if I'm just studying at home or whatever, and I come across something that's irritating or frustrating, it lingers with me and it kind of affects my ability to like retain information, which is the whole point of me being there. And so when I'm with you, I can be like, you know, tap my ear, and we take our headphones off so that we can vent for a little bit. And I'd be like, man, like I just spent 15 minutes trying to figure out this formula and it was so stupid and blah, blah, blah. And I was just dumb. Bleh. And it's out of me and I don't have to think about it anymore, and I can get back to work. And you did the same thing too, where you're like, well, yours weren't that good. You're like, well, I just realized how much I have to do.
Yeah.
We're coming back tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's so beneficial to have like a study partner, and really just like a support group of like, once you're vulnerable and you have somebody who's receptive to that.
Receptible.
I'm tired. Can you tell? Receptive to that, and who can help you. I think that just makes people so much more strong, because like it's good to be independent and stuff, but a little bit of codependency can honestly go a long way if you do it the right way. And I think we did it the right way this week, and I can't wait to do it again this freaking week.
It definitely, I think this week I would have been like underwater, probably crying every day, super sad and stressed and confused and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And like the fact that I don't even have to work extra tonight, I just worked my typical 8 hours today, felt so good. Like my knot in my shoulder is still there from last week, but I can tell it's like, okay, I can push through till Africa. And then after that trip happens, like it's just the holidays after that, and it's going to be awesome. So we can make it through.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Well, so we can get to the fun part of the show after our break, but just want to reiterate, what did we talk about with the stressful situations? Is that one, you have to
admit there's a
admit
problem.
Give yourself some sympathy. Understand that this sucks.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself.
Yeah.
2, I don't remember what 2 was. Do you remember?
Well,
what 2
it was to look for a strategy or support.
That's right. Strategize. And then 3, probably execute.
Yeah.
Execute, find a partner.
But the point is my default mode was keep quiet, somber around.
Exactly.
And then still try to do our routine, but do it bad, and like then be snippy with you, and then, you know, then we'd be fighting, and then, you know, just generally annoyed at each other, and, you know, it would be an uncomfortable week all around because we'd be exerting our stressors and putting distance between us, because those emotions, if you don't speak them out, they release themselves in other ways.
They do. And then that affects your juice bag.
Yeah.
And then you're not fun to be around.
Yeah.
We both did it horribly back in the day. And I did it worse, I would almost ask, because all I focused on was work. And I would work literally 100-hour weeks for multiple weeks without getting anything filling up my cup at all, only filling up other people's cups, ignoring you, resenting everybody. And it was horrible.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I can finally appreciate what I'm doing, because it's not like this big time suck that I'm just jaded toward. It's something that I can like parse out and respect. And honestly, by scheduling and stuff, it makes it way more manageable.
Yeah.
Like when you can regiment yourself to where I know I need to put in at least 2 hours of study a day for just 11 weeks, and then I will be licensed. Like, that's such a weight off my shoulders. So much I don't have to think about. Like, I can actually enjoy a walk or enjoy playing some video games without feeling guilt, because I know that I'm taken care of. It's not like just this infinite amount of work that I theoretically have to do. There's, you know, not something hanging over my head.
And you want to know my hot take on that?
Hit me.
I think it's a family responsibility to create routine.
Yeah.
And I think if one partner was not able to follow through or does not follow through on routine, or at least the interest in it, like no one's going to be perfect, right? Like I feel like 80% consistent is pretty good for most things, you know, in life, because things happen, things change, cars break down, things happen, blah, blah, blah. But overall, I feel as though if you are choosing to commit to be in a relationship, to be married, to cohabitate in a successful, healthy way, it is your responsibility to have a routine so that you have a bedrock to shift from if you need to.
Exactly.
Because back when you were struggling with school and all the studying you were doing, and like you said, 100-hour weeks and staying up late, and you know, even when you and I did hang out and try to have quality time, you were distracted because you were worried about what you weren't doing.
Yeah.
A lot of that was because our household itself had no routine to it whatsoever.
Yeah, neither of us were owning that responsibility.
No. And so like I would go home and I would watch TV, or I'd go hang out with friends, or like try to keep myself occupied in whatever way. Or I'd be working my job late and not worried about what time I'd be home because my husband was studying anyway. So what did I care? You know? And so like we had lacking of boundaries and consistency and
expectations for one another that we were never fulfilling because we were never expressing them.
Yeah, it was like unspoken. We were always feeling, I was either teetering between feeling guilty for not doing enough at home and then agitated for you for not doing enough at home, when the reality was neither one of us were doing it ever.
I know.
And we were both floundering, and we weren't talking about it because we didn't really have the tools or really know where to start, I think, in that chapter.
And then you get into that island feeling of like we both feel like victims. Because here I am sitting in the room studying, and I'm like, doesn't she know that if she like helps me, like I can get through this quicker and we can like be happy again and all this stuff? And neither one of us talking to the other person and just making it way more harder than it needs to be, when really we could have just had some vulnerable moments and communicated a little bit more, come up with a plan that benefited both of us. Yeah.
And so I feel like that's our strength now, and something that I feel like I need to give myself some credit for specifically.
Oh, go ahead.
You know it's true. I feel like
it's true.
Is just like realizing at its core that we needed routine, because I don't know. I used to be one of those people who would claim like, I don't know, I'm just forgetful, and I don't know, I just can't get stuff done, or I don't know why I just can't remember to do my laundry or change sheets or keep on top of dishes or whatever.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's because you're not making a routine for yourself. That's just it. Like,
not only that, but like boundaries for yourself and like self-respect and stuff. And I feel like I do give you a lot of credit for this as well, but like our past relationship that we ended taught us a lot about that. And I felt like we've been reflecting.
A friendship,
excuse me. Yeah. Taught us a lot about that. And I feel like it was an endeavor we were both interested in, but you definitely spearheaded it.
Yeah. And so I think because I got us rolling, because my brain was kind of in that space, your receptibility, your reception of my pitch was very well received, and you were consistent and eager to also be a part of it, which helped. And then once we found the flow in it, we both saw how it literally changed our lives.
Absolutely, man. And somebody in the relationship's got to be the GPS and the other person's got to be the engine. Yeah. And you can switch roles, but unless one of you is willing to be the other, you ain't going anywhere.
And the fact of the matter is everyone has their strengths. So
they do.
However you want to put it, you know, you guys will be tagging each other in, but likely I will be the routine girly who reminds us of the structure, but you're the guy who, you know, rips the Band-Aid and helps us shift if it's time.
Yeah.
And I think that's
By the way, you need to fill out your Roth IRA form.
I know.
Keep pushing you until you do that. But
yeah.
Conversations like these just remind me how lucky I am to have you. And I feel like we're such a good team. And it's not that it happened overnight. We've been doing this shit for 14 years.
Well, I think, we're reflecting that this is our best rebound so far. And it's not that it's not over. It's not that you may not be a little sick right now. And I'm still eagerly awaiting my trip to Africa in about a week.
Yeah. And we're still going to have a hard week and all that stuff. But the thing that I learned in therapy after the year of therapy that I took was that you want to like shorten the amount of time before you identify a problem that you have and then come to a resolution, so that you're not just like always angry and confused while you're angry. Yeah. We understood we were stressed. We took action, and it only took us a few days to like kind of snap out of it, get a game plan, And here we are sitting at 6s and 7s. And the only reason I'm at 6 is because I didn't go ride a stupid bike this morning.
Well, yeah, and you have a headache. So
And I have a headache. And I'm being really brave about it, guys.
Yeah.
My tummy hurts too. Ugh. I want another meat stick. Do you want to go on to part 2 of this?
Yeah.
Ask some questions?
Yeah. Let's
Okay.
take a little break.
Hey, guess what? I love you.
I love you.
Oh. See you in a bit. Sorry to interrupt this week's episode, folks, but we'd like to remind you that if you enjoy what you're listening to please consider subscribing and sharing our podcast. Also, don't forget to leave us a review on all major podcast platforms.
We're about to roll into our Q&A portion of the episode, so if you'd like to be featured next time, hop over to Instagram and submit your question to us at JuiceBagPod. Now let's get back to it. Welcome back.
I bet if we soundbite every single episode,
They would sound
they would
identical.
sound the exact same.
Yeah. That's what makes it great. It lives within us,
I know.
waiting to emerge.
Ugh. I feel like I love taking our little breaks because we always look at our questions that we're about to ask each other. And now we have like an unofficial candle of the podcast that a friend made for me. A coworker, in fact, made these like anthropology inspired candles, and it's making the room smell so good. And
Yeah.
it's such a mood.
Yeah, it's a vibe.
It's
Feels very
romantic
fancy.
in here.
In fact, do you want to go hit the light?
Ooh, maybe I do.
We'll do a
I'll
candlelight podcast.
Oh God, hang on. Let's see.
Ooh. I
okay.
like it. Okay, well, okay. I have a great first question, though, based on this mood.
Oh,
You ready?
sexy.
Yeah.
Ooh, can you see the moon too?
Yeah.
God.
Moonlight. Wow.
We should sleep on this couch tonight. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
It's a nice couch.
It's very small.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
I'll sleep on it. You can go somewhere.
Okay. On that note, how do you keep the spark alive in long-term relationships?
Define spark for this.
Well-
we talking specifically sexually, or just
Oh.
like interest, or what?
Well, I think they're talking about the little butterfly feeling towards your partner. I feel like that's the general spark.
Oh, interesting.
Kind of that infatuation level.
Yeah. Kind of the. I get that. I feel like my knee-jerk reaction is to like keep it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is mostly spontaneity.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like what goes the longest way in relationships is definitely, what is that called when you do something that's like kind of unexpected or like with intention? Intentional. Doing stuff intentionally.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I was not going to get there for you. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're good. The mood is taking me over. My mind's wandering. No, I feel like putting intention into what you do and being spontaneous with that intention is definitely like the best way to keep romance going in, I would say, every relationship. I know it's true in our relationship. We were even talking, I think it was like last week or something, we were talking about maybe introducing like spontaneous dates or something where the other person could
Yeah.
like plan out a date for the other.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast, as this very meta. Anyway, on a podcast with a marriage counselor, and she was talking about one of her favorite suggestions to her clients is to have a monthly date night in your marriage or long-term partnership where it's one partner's responsibility to plan a date, and there are parameters, which are the other person who's not planning it doesn't get to know anything about the night except that food will be eaten and an activity will be done.
Yeah.
Which she recommended that the activity be surrounded by whatever you define as play, which I found very fascinating because I find that even you and I tend to like skew more serious on a date night, like a
agree.
fancy dinner and a symphony or something, so that we can feel like swanky and elegant or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that, which has a vibe to it.
It does.
But as far as keeping a spark alive and like interest in your partner in a way where you both can feel vulnerable and silly and goofy and happy together, she recommended it be surrounding play. So an example that I think that would be just like a dinner of your choice, surprising your partner with that. And then going to like one of those axe throwing places or like a paint your own pottery place or like mini golfing or dance lessons or like so many different activities where the point is to be like a little silly or do something different or whatever. And the responsibility of the planner is literally to know like travel times, where they're going, what the meal is, give a suggestion on what your partner needs to wear. But if the activity requires an outfit change, it's their responsibility to pack it. So that's a surprise. So like it's genuinely supposed to be like an actual surprise, not a like, I feel like you and I are really bad about this where we're like,
we almost never do this, which is why we talked about it.
Yeah.
I mean, technically we go on dates every day.
Yeah.
But
this is a date. But anyway, I thought that was a really good suggestion. I feel like we should find a way to add that to our routine.
Well, do you mind if I go a little deeper with that too? That's
sure.
something I was just thinking about. Is I think I feel like the reason people cheat so often and like are looking for other relationships is because falling in love is like one of the funnest things we can do.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Like falling in love is the best feeling in the planet. And what falling in love is being vulnerable and then having that vulnerability rewarded with good feelings and dopamine and all that stuff.
And reception.
Exactly. And so like when you become comfortable with somebody, and forgive me if this is the most obvious like slap in the face obviously dumb thing ever, but I feel like when we were young, I would do a lot of things for you and you would do a lot of things for me that we didn't necessarily know if the other person would like. And so we were being vulnerable and putting ourselves out there. And that's where the butterflies came from. It was kind of like a nervous excitement. Like, ooh, I don't know if she's going to like it. But then you did like it. And then I'm like, ooh, she likes it. And now we're holding hands and it's so much fun. And I feel like now, since everything's like a mutual agreement and like
out of the same bank account.
Date nights on Tuesday and I can't buy you flowers because you have my credit card. That kind of thing. It becomes less exciting, I guess, even though the love is still there. And I feel like I genuinely love you more than when we were kids. But at the same time, as far as butterflies, which the only reason I'm bringing this up is because you mentioned like that butterfly feeling, which I remember fondly. But honestly, I don't feel like we've felt that way in a long time. And that's because we haven't been putting in the spontaneous aspect into our efforts of loving each other.
Yeah, being vulnerable and having that be received.
Yeah.
And taking a chance on it. Yeah, definitely. And I will say, like, if anybody is experiencing a lack of spark, one of the biggest takeaways I had from my human development class that I took in college, which I highly it should be a human requirement to take human development, because honestly, I learned so much about how like babies are and people are and where all the factors come in.
Babies do be young.
Well, did you know that babies can't even see in 3D until they're like 4 or like 3? So they see, really? They have no depth perception. Oh. So they just live on a different plane of reality. Like it just like, that's why they have like toys that they basically just get a smack in front of their face, because that's all they're seeing. Yeah. They don't even perceive the world around them.
Interesting.
Anyway, but one of the most fascinating parts of that class was what we learned about love. And they were saying that there were 3 different types. It was like infatuation, or like maybe it was like lust, companionship, and vulnerability or something like that.
Interesting.
I don't really remember. There was 3 types, but the first one that goes away is the lust / butterfly spark feeling.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's abnormal for that to fall off as far as like the
that
giddy.
Makes sense. Those are so like coupled,
Yeah.
Like I can't even put into words how many butterflies I had when we first had sex or something like that. It's such a...
Ooh, yeah.
What?
Nothing.
It was a good time.
I know, that was a vulnerable thing to say on the podcast.
What? To say that I enjoyed having sex with my wife for the first time?
I mean, we weren't wed.
Oh, God. Get over yourself. Everyone, I've been with one woman. That is my vulnerable day. My vulnerable thing of the day.
I'm not ashamed of
it.
And
I enjoyed it.
I'm a little shy, I guess.
I know.
But not ashamed.
No, I do get that. Do you have an answer to your own question, or do you think we... talk through it?
I think we talked through it. Yeah, some vulnerability. The only other thing I could think of to mention that is related to something we've acted on is one of my favorite things to talk about in this phase of our lives, when I'm like meeting coworkers or like introducing myself to someone about the period of life that I'm in right now. Cause I'm 28, you're 27. We've been married for 7 years.
I like them old. What can I say?
Yeah. And, a common question is like, do you have kids or do you want kids?
Yeah.
Because we're of that age. And I don't really get offended, but I definitely not ready to have kids yet.
Not quite yet.
I love the idea of it, but I'm just not ready. Mm-hmm. But long story short is the way that Dakota and I feel like kind of re-added a spark and made me fall like back in love with you in a different way.
Aww.
Was us moving across the country together, which was being vulnerable with each other.
Spontaneous?
Like, yes. And we basically, as we had lots of debates surrounding it, of course, and there was logic and planning behind a lot of it.
Yeah.
But you and I had to say things to each other, and we shook hands on like, if we move to Philadelphia and our jobs fall through, are you willing to be like a barista for 6 months until we get stuff ironed out? And we were both like, all right, ramen and baristas if we have to, like working at a gas station or something if we have to make this dream come true.
Yeah.
And I feel like you and I hedging our bets to each other, saying what we were willing to do for each other to accomplish something. Thankfully, we didn't fall flat on our faces. It went quite smoothly, actually.
Yep.
But
way less scary than we thought.
Yeah. But the way I like to phrase it when I'm meeting people is like, well, because people always ask, I'm like, oh, I just moved from the West Coast. And they're like, oh, what brought you out? Because I work at
really? I got a lot of why.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Well, because I work for a remote company. So a lot of people are like, oh, why'd you move out to Philly then? Because I have a remote job, so technically I could live anywhere. I was like, well, honestly, it was adventure. And my husband and I have been married a long time already. We've been together 14 years. We didn't feel ready to have kids. And
what's normally the reaction to that?
Well, get ready for my famous quote that I say to people. I say, we weren't ready to settle down, so this is our version of dating around. We are
I like that.
We are traveling around, settling. I mean, who knows? If interest rates never change, maybe we'll never move again.
Yeah.
But long story short, I think that you and I are we weren't ready for commitment when it came to where we were living. And so a way that we brought spark back to our relationship was a mutual goal that was vulnerable and a way to change things up so that we weren't bored. Because frankly, I could see why people after a decade cheat on each other if all they're doing is eating mashed potatoes every day, sitting and watching their TV show and going to bed.
Yeah, dude, shit gets boring.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden your brain has all this time to think about other things you should be doing.
Or want to be doing.
Yeah. So instead of filling my mind with a bunch of dumb blankness or wondering.
Influence.
Yeah. Then, I'm just going to be busy exploring a new side of the country and doing other things. And, it pushes the timeline back for having kids because we hardly know where we are on a map half the time. But it also makes it really exciting because otherwise we would have been bored
I completely agree.
Wondering why we weren't having kids when, frankly, we just weren't emotionally ready.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like there's a few things I want to say about that. And I don't want to talk about this one question too long, but I feel like that's another thing that we should introduce the kind of the viewers of Juice Bag is this concept that we've come up with called emotional chicken or life chicken, which is that we kind of just set this out there goal and just assume it's not going to happen, but just keep taking steps towards it until we're like, we're going to do it, right? It's like, yes. I'm kind of waiting for one person to back out. And then the trick is that neither person just backs out. And then you just have to do it.
Yeah, because I feel like there were times where we took turns about there were times I feel like I was the fighting force for moving to Philly, but then sometimes you'd swing in.
The big push was was getting the house on the market when we were moving. Because it was we were talking about moving. And then it was like, well, when are you going to post the house? And it was like, well, when are you going to post the house? And then we posted it. And then the house sold, and then it's like, well, when are we going to look for houses?
And when are we going to quit our jobs?
When are we going to look for houses?
When
it's
are
like,
you
oh, what are we going to do for jobs? Yeah, and it just kept turning into this thing, and then you're like, I guess we have to go across the country now. Our house is gone. We have new jobs and stuff. And so we just kept kind of I feel like it's a coping way of just piecemealing out a really stressful thing.
Yeah.
Which is knowing what you have to do to achieve this big, scary goal. And then you just kind of put up little barriers that like, oh, maybe you reach, and then once you reach them, you can kind of celebrate, but also be like, oh, it's kind of scary, and then
Well, because I feel like the reason that we do this premise called life chicken to each other is like, I think you and I both know that the point was we would chip away at it in ways that were back outable until they're not.
Exactly.
And
we always had an escape plan, and then it was like, oh shit, we just sold our house.
Yeah. So each stage had like a plan B to it that kept us going. And I think the whole part of the chicken concept was like, if we really didn't want it and we really were too scared, we could have stopped at any
point. We
point.
could have just bought another house in, in the area that we were in.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're remembering the timeline quite right. I can't quote on it exactly, but...
Well, I guess I don't want to dwell on this too long, but
yeah.
I'm
Long story short, we could have backed out at any point, and we kept not backing out and kept taking the steps that we wanted to and having debates along the way, and it just slowly and quickly chugged along to where it actually happened until all of a sudden you've sold every belonging you've owned. You have 3 cats in one crate, a pug in another, and a car and a trailer, and you're driving across the country.
And like it took a lot for us to get to that point. I will say something while you were talking about all that is like, we had a few conversations and we realized that like I was doing so many things and you were doing so many things, and we wanted to genuinely be doing like maybe 5% of the things we were doing on a daily basis. We were like 95% of our life we don't even want to be doing right now. Like, what are we doing? And then we got to the point where it's like, bitch, we'd literally be baristas in the shittiest part of Philly
to do something else.
Like, this is so boring. And then we did it. The other thing I wanted to bring up was that I just want to acknowledge for the juice bag zeitgeist that this is another example of like understanding that the only things in life worth doing are things that you don't know you're going to be successful at, and like taking that risk and how rewarding it can frickin' be. Like, we didn't know.
We always have to add that piece.
That's the big caveat, is like, don't just clear out your savings and move across the country and do stupid shit. Like, maybe someone find a job, maybe somebody have an educated like, we both had degrees. We knew we could at least get, you know, $50,000 jobs and like rent for a while until we could figure it out. But like, come up with a plan.
Fail safes. But yeah, long story short, like, if you're bored and maybe you're questioning your relationship, like, maybe it's because you need to start questioning yourself a little bit and wondering how you're challenging yourself.
Exactly.
And ways that you're, you know, being in love with the idea of yourself being in love, which means try to fall back in love with your partner by falling in love with them and doing
being
lovely
excited
things.
about what you're doing, being in love with yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to hear your question?
Yeah.
Okay. We have 2 each today, I believe.
Yeah.
My first one, do you want a talky one or do you want like a kind of a fun one? What do you think?
Let's do a fun one.
Okay. I feel like this is a good relationship check-in one. And I always like to ask you these because I feel like it changes sometimes. But
you always make them personal.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
It's
our
a podcast about us, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
Where do you see us in 5 years?
Oh, no. Did you not ask this last time?
No, I don't think so anyway. This is like an interview question.
Oh.
I mean, we talk a lot about our future and stuff on this podcast, but it's nice to just have a little check-in to make sure we're still on the same track.
Yeah.
You can make it as serious or as not serious as you want.
5 years from now, I would like to have traveled the world a little bit more. Not excessively, but a handful of places. I would like to have an established set of friends that we consistently hang out with.
Nice.
I would like to have our sights set on the next place we're going to live, if not living there already. And I want the place that we're going to live be our like era of child rearing, like ready to.
Ooh. Yeah. So we're within the 5-year window.
I think probably.
This was kind of what I was hoping to get at.
Yeah. So I think by then I would like to have a plan in place for how we can pull off financially me not working or me only working part-time and you making a lot more money as a licensed architect in a way that can uphold our lifestyle while I hold the fort down at home and you do your thing. And I would either like to own or, like I said, have our sights set on owning a home in a safe area to raise kids. I would like to have already taken classes on fostering to adoption, so we know about the process of adopting our children from wherever they are. Mm-hmm. And yeah, kind of have an idea of at least our action plan either been in place, like we're there, or we're about to pull the trigger on having a house, me not working, us adopting a kid or multiple kids. Hopefully we just start with one.
Yeah.
And then, so I want consistency, safety. I want to live in like an idyllic little Gilmore Girls town.
Yep.
And with a good school system that's really safe and happy. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think I just want to live in a charming historic house and...
Legitimately zero notes.
Yeah.
I feel like we're perfectly aligned in that. I love that.
Yeah. I hope that by then I'll have my ACL repaired again so that I can have a healthy...
If not torn again by then.
Oh, shut the frick up. How dare you say that?
Just got to keep you off the electric scooters.
Oh my God. We should sell those if we're not using them.
Maybe.
Anyway.
We'll think about it.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I want to be. Like personally, I would love to feel fit and healthy and happy and mentally prepared to be not working or reducing my working hours a lot and be mentally prepared to be a mother.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but I love the idea of being there.
Yeah. So in 5 years, you either want to be there already or have a plan to be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I would say... I would be a little confused if we didn't have kids 8 years from now.
I would also be a little confused by then and be like, wow, we really must not actually want kids.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that would tell us right there.
I think so.
It's like, it's okay. That's a perfect example of the game of chicken. That's what we're doing right now, where we like,
we are doing that.
We're trying to do everything in our life to prepare to like want to have kids and have the stability and have all the things available there.
Yep.
But we just keep not trying to conceive a child and not being interested, and we check in probably once a week we're like,
we got the big brothers big sisters thing going on.
We're like, you still want kids, right? Yeah. You still want kids, right? Yeah, someday. You don't want them now. No. Then we move on.
High five, and then we walk on. And then we walk by a cute kid at the grocery store and we're like, let's talk later.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I don't have a yearning to have kids yet, but I definitely have an aspirational vision that feels, I don't feel old enough. I don't feel ready. I don't feel like it's our time, but our time will come.
I get it.
And if it don't, we'll have lots of pugs.
At least 2 more. What's your next question?
Okay. What do we got? I think all of mine are somewhat serious. Oh, this one is us related. I don't think we've answered this before, at least on the podcast.
That like TV show, Us? Oh, wow. If looks could kill, Jesus. It's just a joke. Boo!
Bad
You didn't
joke.
notice my haircut this morning.
No, I didn't. Did I even see you before you went to work today?
No. You got in the shower super... Well,
Yeah.
I slept in late, but you got in the shower pretty early,
Okay, well
too.
then, your fault. Okay.
My juice bag just went down to 5.
Are you ready for the question?
Just ask it.
Okay. This is funny. This is funny based on the transition. How did you know the first time in your own mind that you loved me?
Oh, God. Come on.
What do you mean?
Didn't you already ask me this?
See, that's how I felt.
I already asked you that, actually. Now that I think about it. Like 2 weeks ago. There's a question my mom sent in.
That we loved each other?
Yeah.
I don't.
How I knew that we were in love with you. I gave you a big old speech about how I just knew.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did I tell mine?
I don't know if
I
you
must not have, because that's why I asked this question, because I wanted to tell you how I knew.
Oh, that's sweet. We can reiterate mine, which is that, I don't know why, caught a vibe. You had a very mature, kind of maternal tone about you. and I have zero idea why it's like galaxy dust. It's just like
magnetism.
yeah. And like I told you when I was like 15 that I wanted to save you for high school so that we could get married and be together forever. I don't even know how I can justify that except that I was just simply infatuated with you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Mine, well, I definitely was infatuated with you, but I also feel like I remember very consciously wondering what love felt like exactly and how I decided it. And I kind of just decided it for myself in my own head on one day.
Really?
And I remember...
Was it recently?
Last week.
Was it?
No.
That's great. Love is a finger in the butt when you're going up the stairs and
Oh, God.
getting slapped on the butt while you're doing a lot of butt things actually is love.
Do we have to say finger in butt? Why not near?
You get deep, Jett. You get so deep.
I wouldn't say finger. I'd say karate chop. I don't go full
Karate chop?
Yeah.
Get knuckles in, bro. Are you kidding
Ew,
me?
I can't. Ew, stop it.
We have to take turns going up the stairs because it's just like pandemonium. It's like two crabs chasing each other.
Okay, are you ready for mine? That is
Sorry,
a good
totally
visual.
killed the mood. It's like
When I knew I was in love with you was I was reflecting on our first date. So you and I had been texting on and off a long time. I feel like we talked about this in our anniversary special where we break
That's
down
where
our
I think
whole
we covered
relationship.
most of this. Yeah.
Well, I feel like I knew that I loved you. We had said I love you before, but it was kind of, we were children at that point where I was saying it because I was infatuated with you. And honestly, that is a form of love, but I don't think it was like the long haul compatibility, full on companionship type love.
Mine was, but that's okay.
Yeah. You're easy to please though.
I'm a romantic and a little clingy.
Yeah. Well, we had gone on our first date. It was to the zoo.
I remember you had
remember
that
that?
crane scream at you.
Yeah.
And then we also made a leaf house for a caterpillar.
I do also remember that. Very wholesome. Well, after that date, I was reflecting about how, like, if I loved you or not and why. And I was kind of like debating in my mind all of these things on what would determine if I loved someone. And I had kind of just determined in my mind that love was being willing to like take a bullet for someone else. And I thought to myself, who are all of the people who I would jump in front of a bullet for to save their life? And you made the list.
Well, gee, I sure hope so.
Well, yeah.
And you
of
said
course,
this was last week?
Shut up. No, it was when,
Top of the list.
It was
Veto.
it was after our first date when we were kids, and I was thinking about it, and I was, when you're a kid, you don't really know exactly what love is, and people tell you all the things, or you see stuff in movies. But
Yeah, so you have to kind of like make up a barometer.
yeah, and to me that was kind of my barometer, and I remember thinking like, of course I am obsessed with him, and I think he's hot and beautiful and nice and sweet, and I love him.
Yeah.
But also like, is this a like I told you, like a companion in a way that like I love them in a way that surpasses my own life.
Interesting. So that was kind of the threshold then. That was the agreement you made with yourself on when you figured out you loved me, is when you decided that you would take a bullet for me.
I knew in my own mind that your life mattered more than my own.
That's a weird way to say it, but I do know what you mean.
Yeah, just like you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean.
So that's how.
Very cute, actually. I don't know why it has to involve violence, but I do get it.
It was just like my little kid mind had to think of something that felt important and valid. And, when you're that age, there's not a lot of people that you really like.
Yeah, no, we don't know. We do dumb shit.
Yeah.
Think dumb things. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's still very sweet.
Yeah.
I also, do you mind if we kind of chase this memory really quick
Sure.
about that first date to the zoo? Was that also we went to the zoo and then afterward at the park, there was like a Real Big Fish concert, like a ska band. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That we went to, it was like a free concert. And then that was the first time I tried to give you a piggyback.
And you epically failed.
I tried to act like, I was like, whoa, you're so big, you're going to like make me fall over. And then I told her to hop on. And then I like leaned back to go like, whoa. And I was going to catch her. And then I didn't catch myself. I totally ate shit.
Yeah,
In front of an entire crowd of ska people. They all laughed at us.
Yeah, I remember being horrified.
Oh, that was a cringe ass day. That was a cringe ass day. We also made out
a lot
all through that.
We're not going to talk about it though.
That was insane.
We're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
But anyway, from my perspective, and to paint the picture a little bit better for everyone, there was a band going on at a park in downtown Boise, and there was like a crowd of like 100 people. Like there was
Real Big Fish is. It's a big band.
Yeah. And so anyway, I don't know who exactly it was. I don't know.
It was. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
I won't say it's a core memory, but it was my first Real Big Fish concert.
It was a free concert in the park. Long story short. And then Dakota tried to give me a piggyback to be all cute and boyfriendy.
Yeah.
And it was like a park concert. So everybody was on blankets and like both facing the concert, but no one was like in the pit. So Dakota was running between the stage and the crowd of people with me on his back. And then he dropped me in front of a crowd.
Yeah, man.
And then I don't remember. Did we just walk away? I don't remember what we
I remember
did.
you being positively mortified.
Really?
And I was like just trying to console you. And then our parents eventually showed up to pick us up. It was a great ending.
You always get me into
was
embarrassing situations.
Elsewise, a pretty miserable day. And then you wrote me a card about it, about how good that day was.
Yeah.
But you left out the dropping you part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just apparently still need to cringe about that a decade and a half later.
It's our story, Jett. Okay.
Good times.
Let's
ask one more, and that'll be our last one.
Sure. This is kind of a thoughtful, philosophical one.
Okay.
Do you think in like today times that marriage is actually like necessary? And by extension, do you think it's worth it? Whether you take that legally or religiously or what?
So I can't speak religiously because I don't even really know about any of that stuff.
We don't know about that.
Legally, yeah, it's a big deal. And it has a lot of kickbacks.
This is a hotly debated topic on Reddit, by the way.
Really?
Which is, I feel like we both have decisive opinions about it, but people were like, no, I don't know.
Yeah. Marriage has lots of tax breaks, but also I feel like it's a kind of an announcement to the government that you are tied to a particular human you are not blood related to. And it's very helpful in a lot of situations. Like I can't even imagine in a medical situation if, you and I had different last names and we weren't legally married and if something was going on. In fact, I know of a couple, you know who you are out there, who has had a lot of things that they're going through that are really difficult because they've been together a long time, but they're not married just because of like health insurance and stuff that I don't think, and like I would never expect that they would have to experience those challenges. And it seems really stupid that they have to go through so many hoops.
To do a legal piece of paper to get that to happen.
Yeah. So I don't know. If you're tied up and worried about marriage, like I don't mean you, but people out there, if you are, nervous about marriage as far as it being a legal contract and the financials behind it, like, I mean, depending on how late in life you are, like when Dakota and I got married, we had no money to our names at all. Yeah, so it didn't matter.
Ain't no prenups in this bitch.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely not.
Exactly. Like what him and I have earned together, we've done it because and for each other. So anyway. But if you get married when you're older and you have your own debts and baggages and things going on, like that is a big deal. And finances are huge. And I don't know what all a prenup could do, but if you're that concerned about, splitting up and the commitment of financially being drained because of a prenup or not having one or the lack thereof, then that's something to consider. But that's a difficult conversation to have.
Yeah.
But long story short, from my lens in my life as a heterosexual white normie lady, I enjoy marriage very much.
Yeah.
I like the iconography of it. I like the romance, the idea of it. I love the commitment. I love the dramatics. I love that we would have to go to court to break up. Like, I don't want it to just
be... gonna drag you through the mud publicly.
Right,
oh my God, I have so many receipts.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Rather than it, could you imagine if our relationship ended and it was just we just walked away from each other forever?
Fuck no, dude.
Exactly. That's
Amber Heard. Who? I'd
yeah.
be Johnny Depp. You'd be Amber Heard. No, I'd probably be Amber Heard. I'd be the crazy.
No, I
one.
don't think we'd be toxic and crazy. I just think
I would. How else would I cope?
That's true.
I've done such a high for such a long time. I'm going to go down low.
You better not. You better stay together forever.
I feel like I agree. I feel like there's two aspects to it, which is that I take the commitment aspect really seriously, and I think most people do, and that's like the big scary one. Religious is a big thing of like, you know, if people are getting married, not for religious reasons, but under like a religious banner, that makes it a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think my hot take is like, we should normalize marrying like best friends. Like, even if you guys don't want to be in a long-term committed sex relation, typical whatever, it's like, there's just so many benefits to it.
Yeah.
And like, if you don't get married to somebody, like, you know who's going to be making those decisions for you when you're on your deathbed or like under the knife or something and somebody needs to make the call? It's your parents. I don't trust my parents. Like, absolutely not. I'd rather have my buddy who I've been hanging out with for the past years making my decisions for me because they have my best interests at heart, not my parents who think
and they know
shouldn't have left when I was 18.
Right. They know you for who you are at that point in time.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's my hot take. But ultimately, I think the commitment aspect is very important. The religious aspect is important. But I also think we should normalize, if there's no kids involved, if you guys are in a marriage and you guys don't want to be in that marriage, you don't have to be in that marriage. You can also leave, and that's fine. Yeah. Divorce is bad. It's not something you should strive toward, but also, like, I won't say like it's bad. That's not necessarily what I believe.
Well,
but
it isn't the goal for everyone.
It's not the goal,
you know,
for sure. But like, if it is the goal, or if it turns into the goal, or if marriage has no longer become something that serves you, guess what? You don't have to stay in that marriage, whether it's religious reasons or not. Like, there's no obligation to stay there. Yeah. You can totally move on. And sometimes it's for the better. Not sometimes, but most of the time. If you're already considering their thoughts are, it's probably too late. Yeah. So, what are you going to do? Stay in there and be unhappy? Like forever. Every other stereotypical boomer? Yeah. Don't do it. Move on. Any other things you want to say?
No, my last question was, I dropped my phone.
I didn't know.
So I can't read it anyway.
Quit throwing your phone, Jett. Jeez.
Sorry.
It's already barely working.
All right. I think we covered some good topics. We got to whine a little bit. We got to talk about how we're working on overcoming our stuff that we have going on. And I feel like we had some good nuggets of wisdom and thoughts to share with the crowd. So.
No, I thought it was a really good episode. Honestly, I feel like my juice bag number has improved. I think I'm back at like a 7 or an 8. And I feel like I always say that whenever we leave the episode, is that like, I feel better having talked to you.
Just proves if you talk about it, you'll feel better.
Absolutely. Well, I think if that's everything, we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully, if everything works out.
No, they won't.
Why?
Because I'll be in Africa.
You leave next week? I thought you leave in 2 weeks.
I leave next Thursday. Yeah, so we'll have an episode. Okay.
Get your life together. Okay. We'll see you guys next week, folks, here on Juice Bag. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Juice Bag. Were you surprised by what we said? We were. Oh no, is this on the internet forever? Oh God.
Can't take it off the internet. Hope we don't do this again next week.
Ooh, what if we did this again next week?
Maybe it could be like a thing.
Ooh,
Who knows?
See you next time.
Tune in next time to find out.
Or not.
Bye.